He locked the gingerbread scented lotion provided by the innkeeper in his hotel safe because he doesn't trust himself to masturbate anymore. He's like, this is...
I'm not just the scenting of it might not be good for your private business.
That's what I thought too, but quite literally the issue is out of his hands. Hello.
Hi. Holy shit. God. Hi.
Wow. Hi. Starting really strong. Everyone, it is the week before Christmas for those who celebrate. It is a rough week for sure. Welcome to Say Smut, a literary podcast for readers and non-readers.
Yes, welcome. That's Sarah, and she loves books.
And that's Hope, and she loves talking about books with me.
So much.
Each episode, I break down the plots of some pretty wild books to Hope, who has not read them. I just feel like both Hope and I are just like, ooh, this is like not the week. This is not it.
It's we want to do this, and also no, we don't at the same time. It's like a very complex feeling.
It is.
No, we do. We're happy to talk to you about books.
Well, I'm happy to tell you about today's book. Because we're gonna jump in. It's we're not doing a novella or like a monster smut book or anything. We're gonna go back to our bread and butter, which is rom-com holiday themed book.
This is a B-O-O-K book.
B-O-O-K. I am not okay. But
this book is because you can't spell book without okay. If you just spell it with the letters and not the full way with all the extra letters.
We're trying on this lovely Tuesday, but we're gonna jump in because it's a little bit of a longer one. Oh my gosh, Hope, your research, I am not looking at it, but my goodness, there is so much to it. So
I think once the topic is revealed, everybody will understand why there's so much research to divulge. I felt like my brain melted when I did this.
Yes. So we are doing a Merry Little Meet Cute by authors Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. Content warnings. We've got obviously sexual content. We have fat phobia, which will be just kind of a light mention. There is body shaming in the book. I'm not going to get into it though. There is mental illness and biphobia, but that's mentioned in the book and I don't mention it here. So to tell you a little bit about this book, on Storygraph, we've got a 3.56 rating. On Goodreads, it's a 3.4, so a little bit lower than what my threshold is, which is 3.5 for rom-coms. But I rated it a 4.5.
Nice. All in all, higher than any of the things we have read in recent episodes. So yes. Pretty good start.
That is true. We've had some pretty low ratings. So a little bit about our authors. These are both very popular romance authors that have come together for this series. Yes, it is a series. But Julie lives in Texas with her husband and cat who tolerate her, which I love that she made sure both were included in the tolerating. She worked in a library before she worked in the library world before she became a full-time author. And she's best known for her adult novel Dumplin', which is also a film on Netflix if you haven't watched it. And then Sierra's bio says that she writes the dirtiest things she can think of and loves King Arthur, sparkling water, ancient mystery cults, coffee, leggings, and fog.
Yeah, I like pretty much all those things.
If we are watching the video right now, Hope is currently in a fog.
I'm in a fog. If you've been watching these videos, I am in a fog most of the time, and we just don't know why the web camera keeps doing it. And I am sorry if you watch this.
It's just like it can't focus on one part of her beauty, so then it blurs out for a little bit, and then it's like, oh wait, there she is.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Or it's a representation of how I see myself in a mirror without contacts.
This is also accurate.
Honestly, it's a little more clear than my vision. I'm just going to be 100% with you.
Well, more about Sierra. She is a fellow Midwesterner living in Kansas City with her family, including 2 giant dogs and 1 horrible cat.
Ooh.
Her TikTok famous book is Priest, which is pretty self-explanatory for the smut world. The duo have written 2 books and 1 novella together in this series. The latest just came out called A Holly Jolly Ever After for this holiday season. I have not read it yet. I think, if I'm correct, it follows the 3 boy band members, washed up boy band members.
Oh,
So,
fun.
with that said, are you ready?
Yes.
Yes, we can be only as ready as we can be. So we are opening on a man named Teddy Ray Fletcher, who is in some trouble. Okay.
Mm.
He's an agent and producer of sorts, and recently got a movie, Duke the Halls, greenlit through the Hope Channel, a very wholesome and not copywritten channel.
Just like
Copyrighted
me.
Yes.
Wholesome and not copywritten.
But his lead actress, child star but now adult Winnie Baker, got terribly sick at Burning Man, along with an incident that caused a bunch of crew members who were also at Burning Man for this, they're crew members for the movie who were also at Burning Man.
Uh-huh.
They got injured after a tusk on a art installation fell or something. We're not going to get too far into that.
That sounds like a drug-addled time.
The thing is, Teddy's day job is not just being like a producer for movies. Mm-hmm. He's a producer of cheap pornography.
Great.
So the Hope Channel job is kind of a great paycheck to help with his kids' like college fund and like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But no one at the Hope Channel knows about his pornography business. So he kind of has 2 things going on. He's got Fletcher Production and Uncle Ray Ray's porn biz.
Oh, no. Who can you imagine looking up and then clicking on content from Uncle Ray Ray?
Uncle Ray Ray's. I have to say, look, I'm going to say that we are going to take a ride on this book. This book is going to give us ups. It's going to give us down, laughter, tears, and absolute jaw-dropping moments, because you will never predict what's going to happen next. Amazing. What I can tell you, though, is that it has the whole holistic idea of like, oh, here's a Hallmarky type movie, and like they're in a winter landscape in Vermont and cute, but it also has a dirty, downright side of pornography of like, here are some really hot sex workers who are secretly working undercover.
The kind you can only find at Uncle Ray Ray's.
Uncle Ray Ray's porn business. So Gretchen, the director of the movie, comes to his office and he's such a mess. And she notices a headshot of a woman that wasn't at the casting call for Duke the Halls. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, this girl is beautiful. Like, she is just perfect for the movie. You have to get her for us. Except she is one of Uncle Ray Ray's adult film stars.
Oh, it was a headshot from the other business.
Yeah.
I see.
Unfortunately for him, Gretchen is set on B. Hobbs becoming the next lead of the Hope Channel's latest movie. Okay. Uh-huh. So let's talk about B. She's a closed doors star. So again, OnlyFans, just we're not calling it OnlyFans. We're calling it closed door. Mm-hmm. She's plus size. She's open to all genders sexually. She is the daughter of 2 very supportive moms who loved the work she does.
Interesting.
They love getting a DVD of the latest work she's done.
Ooh.
B also loves her work, but she's excited for this new casting option in the Hope Channel films. The most exciting part is that she's going to be co-starring opposite of Nolan Shaw, aka teenage heartthrob from the band Ink, and kind of a washed up celebrity now. Okay.
Nice.
So, of course, B, like many girls, was in love with him growing up. And I feel like this is really speaking to you, not necessarily your porn star persona, but
obviously not.
but specifically because you are a child of the 90s, as am I, though there's a little bit of an age difference between you and I. And I feel like you are in sync, Backstreet Boys.
100%.
This is right up your alley, and I'm telling you that. I'm not giving you an option to dispute me.
No, that is completely correct. We at my house were not allowed to like Backstreet Boys because my sister insisted we could only like NSYNC. We also,
as you should know,
which is in real life we had CDs from both, so that's hilarious. But whatever. I also could not like Justin Timberlake because that was her NSYNC member, so I liked JC instead.
Do we all get off the Justin Timberlake train now, though? Are we done?
I don't know anymore.
I'm gonna call your sister and ask.
That's fine. Yeah, let her tell you because I couldn't know. But yes, no, this makes sense. And thanks to Trolls, NSYNC's having such a renaissance, sort of, but not really. And so, this is all relevant.
Yeah. Well, okay, back to our fictional world.
Yes.
B is was so in love with him. And now she's kind of nervous to meet him because she's like, what if he's fat phobic or an asshole? Like never meet your heroes type of thing. So now let's talk about Nolan. Why is he doing the Hope Channel movie? Do you have any guesses?
Well, I assume because Ink is no longer together and his career has floundered somewhat. And so he needs that star recognition that only the Hope Channel can provide.
Well, more specifically, he needs the paycheck. But he is repairing his reputation after he was caught in a hotel room with an American figure skater, 2 Dutch speed skaters, and a mini trampoline. So
rad. And fascinating. What is the trampoline for? I need to know.
Who could say? His career has kind of gone to shit after people made a lot of assumptions of what happened during the Duluth Olympics.
The Duluth Olympics?
Which, okay, as Hope and I are Midwesterners, this is really amazing to have so many references to the Midwest for us.
Oh man, great. That's great. I wonder what year those were in.
Yeah. There's also more to the story which he'll divulge to the reader, and they include that there's more to the story that we get but not other people yet, that his sister is at home with his mom, which she may or may not be sick with something, we don't know.
Sure.
And that the members of Inc. were scammed out of a bunch of money due to a terrible contract with a manager. So 1, he needs the reputation boost, and 2, he needs the money from the movie to help out at home. Okay.
Sure.
So now let us go to snowy Vermont. And this is where I start singing snow, snow, snow. From, we're all on the same train up to Vermont.
It's all White Christmas for the people who maybe missed the train that Sarah and I were on together.
Yeah, so we're all going to the 1930s, 1940s classic. No, it's got to be more recent than that.
Now I have to look it up.
Yeah, will you please fact check me?
I'll raise my hand when I have the answer.
This is actually a retelling of White Christmas.
This is actually a White Christmas based smut book.
Yeah, it practically is.
1954 is
wow. I was so 20 years off. That was so painful because it even addresses World War II in it, and
it does. It does.
I completely grazed over that. I swear I'm good at history. I swear. Okay, so people are coming together and Nolan is getting his costume figured out and stuff. And the designer, who's clearly has no clue what this movie's about because he was brought on last minute as, one of the Tusk victims was taken out. So he's
so disturbing.
He's like, so there's no sex in this movie? Can you tell that this beautiful baby angel is from Uncle Ray Ray's place?
Yeah, clearly.
So during this scene in the costume shop, a beautiful woman comes in. Long, dark hair, olive green eyes, fair skin, a septum piercing. And Nolan is just shocked into silence because B. Hobbs is none other than his porn star crush that he subscribes to religiously,
Of course.
Bianca Von Honey. A
That
great
A plus
yes.
incredible name.
Yes. So he's like, literally my wet dream come to life.
Amazing.
And that's what, that was the hook for me when I was reading it. I was like, I am fully immersed, because this isn't just like cute and kind of edgy with like the porn star angle. He is a subscriber.
Yeah, he's a tier 5 subscriber. He's paying $100 a month.
I'm so glad you knew that, because he is at honeypot level of a subscriber.
Amazing. He's in the hive.
Yes. The beehive, the true beehive.
No offense to the other beehive. Don't yell at us.
No, please.
We love Beyonce. It's fine.
So now from B's point of view, she's been given a list of rules from Uncle Ray Ray to behave, because he's like, you can't fuck this up for us. Okay. So
imagine taking a man who refers to himself as Uncle Ray Ray seriously in any capacity.
I don't know. I think it's kind of endearing, as long as because I think the porn industry gets a lot of bad rep, and obviously we know that. But to think of it as a wholesome, loving family community is a little weird, but at the same time, very sweet.
It's my preference.
Okay. So the list of rules include the following. Number 1, no fucking on camera or for fun. Okay. While she's in Vermont.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, this seems counterintuitive to Uncle Ray Ray's material.
No, he's like, as long as you are, your little feet are touching the snow in Vermont, we are not fucking. Okay. So 2, you are B. Hobbs. You know nothing about Bianca Von Honey. You don't know who she is. You've never watched porn. You don't even know how to define porn. You couldn't be bothered. 3,
just like all of us.
3, come up with a backstory and stick to it.
Ooh.
Okay. 4, and this one was given with a graphic on the page, and it's a circle of her porn audience and a circle of the Hope audience, and they do not overlap. And he's like, this is our only success, or our only chance of succeeding here, because we have to pray that these 2 groups of people do not intermingle. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Rule number 5 is no fucking. Again. And rule number 6 is I'm serious.
But why? But why?
So now we have a porn star, and we have a very horny, excited, washed-up boy band member. Can you please tell us about the Hallmark Channel that this is very obviously not based on?
Completely different thing.
Just because I feel like we need to take a whole nother angle, a sharp turn out of my fictional land, and I just need to bring in some education to this podcast.
Yes, and I will bring that education with my report titled Deck the Hallmark with Every Christmas Special Possible. Sarah is shaking her head, which I can only assume means there's no way Hope came up with something that amazing by herself, because it's so good.
You know I always love your puns.
It's true. So Sarah originally asked me to research why Hallmark movies are wholesome and generally the way that they are. This would be a pretty brief research segment if that were the case, and I love talking, so I am expanding this research to dive into 1, how a card company shifted into the TV business, and 2, when it hard launched into the Christmas bonanza that we know it for today. So I can give a TLDR on Sarah's specific prompt, which is that Hallmark Christmas movies are gooey and warm and cute. 1, because the goal of Hallmark's programming is to make you feel like you're in a Hallmark card. And 2, because it makes sense when you really think about it, doesn't it? Yeah.
That's cute.
And 2, because the primary viewership of the Hallmark Channel was boomers. Although Hallmark has sought to expand the viewership by making content wholesome for the whole family. But that's the way they're expanding their audience is to open it up to everybody, and not just boomers, but boomers and their grandkids. So anyway, we'll get into my real deal report. Thank you so much to Hallmark and Wikipedia and the Writers Guild Foundation and Vox and the New Yorkers and more. Straight up, I accidentally closed all of my sources before I got to write them all on this list that I like to do. And so I don't have all of them, but I tried to remember them, and I'm so sorry.
But we are happy to give credit where credit is due. We are not
Yes.
owning any of this information at all.
Correct. No, I did not find any of this of my own discovery. It's all on the internet. Anyway, I have a very, very short trigger warning, which is that there will be very minimal discussion of Candace Cameron Burr, heretofore referred to as CCB. I don't talk about her a lot. You just kind of have to denote her.
I love that. I love that that is a trigger warning. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ugh.
Let's get started with Hallmark history. I think this is well known, but before there was Hallmark the channel, there was Hallmark the card company, and there obviously still is. The card company was founded in 1910 by a Nebraskan teenager whose name was J.C. Hall, which is for Joyce C. Hall. I don't know what the C stands for, but the J is for Joyce. Anyway, he grew up in Nebraska, and he grew up poor. And at the age of 16, he and his brothers formed the Norfolk Postcard Company, which sold imported postcards, a business that people needed in the early 1900s.
Can I just say quickly, we do have a Midwest theme here. I'm
yeah, it's
enjoying
very
this.
Midwest. There's nothing to do but obtain and then sell imported postcards, because apparently that's what the people of Nebraska really needed. At the age of 18, he dropped out of school and moved to Kansas City to sell postcards at drugstores and gift shops and other such businesses, because the business had not been popping in Nebraska, but Kansas City was a little bit bigger. So he was like, I gotta go there. It's gonna be great.
Kansas City. Everything comes back to Kansas City, because we will get back to Kansas City in my story.
Everybody loves postcards in Kansas City, which is sort of true because business grew. And J.C. Hall was eventually able to open his own specialty store, presumably like the Norfolk Postcard Company, but just in Kansas City. A fun fact that I have written down is that Hallmark began designing its own cards after losing its inventory of cards to a fire. So they weren't originally making their own cards. They had just gotten all these crazy imported. I don't really know the logistics of a postcard business because it's so irrelevant to this time in the world. But in general, he'd been
You know what? I want you to take that back, actually. I am a regular postcard purchaser.
I want to say that I sent a postcard in the mail literally yesterday. But
I need you to take shit back right now.
It's too late. It's I've squeezed it out of the
toothpaste
the
internet,
bottle, and I can't
out there.
Force it back in. We should all be ashamed. Anyway, okay. So all of the cards that they had stocked up got burned up in this fire. Which is very sad. And so they bought an engraving firm after this, and then that set the stage for them to make their own cards, and they started making their own cards.
Can I give you one quick fun fact, because now this is about me?
Yeah. Yes.
My grandpa used to own an engraving company. Now it's owned by my uncle. But for a while, they sold greeting cards or like cards,
there you go,
postcards. So like it really is in the engraving companies.
There's a connection there.
Yeah.
It's all true.
Okay. Well, just fact checking you know.
Yes, thank you for fact checking me. Hallmark Brothers Incorporated was formed in 1923, which eventually became Hallmark in 1928. The name Hallmark comes from the term referring to a goldsmith's stamp of quality, which I bet people knew about back then. And I'm sure that made sense. But like when you hear a hallmark of something,
yes,
like that's not referring to the card. That's referring to
yes. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
You are definitely all thinking that. Anyway, as the card company grows and develops, they're innovating ways to display their cards. They're partnering with businesses like Disney and artists like Norman Rockwell for cards, and they're becoming more and more linked to the holidays. And we start getting the term Hallmark holiday to refer to a holiday that's rooted in commercialism.
As so, it should be.
Yeah. So like arguably Christmas, even though it's not like the origin is not consumerism, but it is overwhelmed with consumerism. Valentine's Day would be like a Hallmark holiday.
Yeah.
Things, Mother's Day and Father's Day and other
anything that capitalism can make money off of. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the foundation from which we build our Hallmark channel house. So my next segment is Hallmark plus TV equals love. How did we get from cards to Christmas specials? I'm glad you asked, because I asked, because that was the point of the research. And it's because JC Hallmark hates other people's advice.
Oh, well, you know, we're not all good at listening.
Yes. So J.C. Hall was all about ignoring the wisdom of others, which started with card changes. So original Hallmark cards had Hall Brothers Company on the back up until about the 1920s. And then one day J.C. Hall was like, what if we changed it to say a Hallmark card? And they were like, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. And he was like, I would do it anyway. And then as this, so yeah, that's just like an example. They all, Hallmark cards, when they were more, I don't know, popular and mainstream than I think of them as being now, like were popular and famous for having their Hallmark little logo on the back.
Okay, got it.
And so that basically, it would have continued to just say Hall Brothers Company and not be as, I don't know, infamous as it is now had he followed his brother's advice.
Well, sounds like it worked out for him. So
yeah, it sure did. This trend continues when he ignored advice that he shouldn't advertise and chose to place ads for Hallmark cards anyway, which is good because this is how Hallmark became like the A1 since day one card making company. It is crazy to me that you would advise any business to not advertise, but
I know.
Fortunately, J.C. Hall was like, that's banana pancakes. We're going to advertise. And within this flurry of advertisement came Hallmark's first entry into television, which happened to be tied to Christmas. It's all coming together. At first, you're like,
together.
Hope, where were you going with this? It's a lot of information. I don't understand the connection, but now it's all coming together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together, and we're doing a choreographed dance after a basketball game. So in 1951, Hallmark sponsored a live television production on Christmas Eve of Amal and the Night Visitors, which is like a Three Wise Men style opera. And it aired on NBC, and it was the first opera to be written specifically for TV, and Hallmark sponsored it. That's our first TV connection. And this production eventually launched what would be called the, quote, Hallmark Hall of Fame, which was just like a weekly sponsored by Hallmark segment of television content, like an hour of television content. I have a quote here from Wikipedia that says, in 1955, Hallmark Hall of Fame switched its format to a special series seen only 4 to 8 times a year around greeting card holidays and in 90-minute or 120-minute lengths. Starting in 1970, the frequency dropped to 2 to 3 times a year. And then originally this kind of programming would be plays and other productions instead of original stuff. So they had that opera that they had written specifically for TV. They were doing stuff like Hamlet and A Tale of Two Cities and Oliver Twist and A Christmas Carol. In these like sort of around the holidays, Hallmark Hall of Fame sponsored segments, which great. And then Hallmark card commercials aired during these as well because they were, sponsored by Hallmark. That kind of started more in the 60s, and these ads were very famous for making people cry. Very like emotional, buy cards kinds of ads. I thought about looking them up, and then I was like, but I don't want to cry today, and so I didn't, and I moved on with my day.
What was the last commercial to make you cry? Because I hate to tell you that it was recent for me.
It's been a minute since a commercial has made me cry. I can't think of one specifically in recent memories, but I can tell you that I wrote an essay in college about a commercial that made me cry. That was a service member walking through an airport and being called up to board a plane first. And slowly all these people are like giving them, nods of recognition and stepping out of their way. And then a small elderly man stands up and salutes them. And that would make me cry every time I watched it. Yeah. And I watched it several times to write the essay. And I cried every time when I watched it for the writing of the essay. Chaos.
That tracks. There, I go to a movie theater, and lately movie theaters have been doing more commercialized commercials before instead of just trailers, and just like Pepsi. Like there's a Dove commercial that's all about like essentially female insecurity around like body image and stuff. That made me cry. But more recently, there's a Christmas, I think it's Chevy commercial where this woman clearly has Alzheimer's or dementia of some sort. And she's kind of like detached from the Christmas celebration so her granddaughter takes her on a drive around their hometown and explains like all the major landmarks to her and was like, this is where you met grandpa. And this is where you guys had your first kiss. And then all of a sudden she starts remembering these things. And then they come home and she's like, I think this is unrealistic and obviously like kind of insensitive, but also makes me emotional every single time.
I can't necessarily advise that you take anybody with dementia out for a ride on the town, just kind of willy-nilly, but
Yeah.
it sounds like a fascinating
Can
premise
you-
for a commercial.
Can you guess what type of vehicle they were in when they went for their little drive about the town? It's going to be a shocker, I know.
Sorry. I thought of the funniest thing, and this is not what I actually think it was, but it would be funny in my head if it was just a big old pickup truck.
It sure was, actually. No.
No,
it was like a vintagey, like,
yeah,
Chevy.
I was gonna guess a convertible, but then I was like, is it Christmas? I don't know.
Christmas?
So hard
is
to
it
say.
Christmas if a little red truck is not hauling a big Christmas tree on top?
I don't think it is.
Couldn't tell you. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back to the point of this podcast.
Back to my research. So Hallmark is making very emotional commercials, which is sort of a segue into Hallmark beginning to make its own content. And eventually Hallmark would go on to make its own televised content in like the 70s and 80s, though at that time they were still showing like plays that already existed and stuff. The Hall of Fame was broadcast on all kind of channels. So like sometimes it was on CBS and sometimes it was on PBS and sometimes it was on NBC. And it just kind of continued bouncing around in this way until about 2014 when Hallmark will go very hog wild into its own media properties.
Oh, that was only 2014 they did that?
Well, they start before that, but they start to invest more time into their own content than they were on the Hallmark Hall of Fame at that time.
Okay, got it.
Bigger transition. So Hallmark formed Crown Media in 1991, Crown being their little, their logo for anybody who didn't know. But they ventured into cable in 91. And as previously said, I actually don't remember if I said this off the top and I had planned to. Hallmark has ties to some old Christian TV channels. It's a very long and very boring history of companies buying companies and being absorbed into other companies and having stakes bought by Hallmark and stuff. And it's not that interesting. The TLDR is like Crown Media Holdings took over an existing network that was called Odyssey Network in 2000. And then in 2001, Odyssey Network rebranded it a Hallmark channel so that more people would be interested in it because they didn't know what a channel called Odyssey was showing on TV. They were like, is it space? No.
Is it Homer's The Odyssey?
Also, no, I don't think. So for rebranding purposes, they're like, everybody knows what Hallmark is. And that is how the Hallmark channel came to be the Hallmark channel. And now in our very most important segment, and also even more importantly, the last segment of this long research about Hallmark and their shenanigans is Hallmark plus Christmas movies. So stand up and do a stretch. We're going to get through it. We're going to finish this research out.
Okay, I'm ready.
We have now established a Hallmark channel on TV, and we have an outlet for cranking out even more original Hallmark content, including Hallmark original movies. In 2000, the soon-to-be rebranded Odyssey Network aired 4 films, including my first evidence of what we'd call a Hallmark Christmas movie, which is called The Christmas Secret, but also called Flight of Reindeer, and I don't know why it got renamed. But That's
incredible.
The two to go from Flight of the Reindeer, Flight of the Reindeer to Christmas Secret. I don't know. It's such a departure.
I like the first one, The Flight of the Reindeer. That sounds
so
great.
Do I. It's confusing because if you look it up on IMDb, it will be called The Christmas Secret, but the movie poster will say you can see it still say Flight of the Reindeer.
Yeah. So all of you who are looking it up on IMDb, just know that this is why you have been seeing a discrepancy. For all those people who are looking this up, I just want to make sure they know.
This is the reason. Anyway, this film aired in December of 2000. In 2001, we increased to 2 Christmas films from Hallmark, A Town Without Christmas and The Sons of Mistletoe. In 2003, we get 2 more entries, but we increased to 5 new movies in 2004. And we kind of get this ebb and flow of annual new Christmas content coming out on Hallmark. In 2008, we premiere the first of what would become truly a bazillion CCB Hallmark Christmas movies. The actress whose name I'm not going to say.
Yep.
This is important to the history, though. Her first one was in 2008. It was titled Moonlight and Mistletoe. And Hallmark's Christmas creating content really just blows the fuck up after 2008 and after this film.
I mean, that seems like the time.
Yeah.
The prime time for them to get that niche.
Yeah, after 2008, moving in 2009, Hallmark holds its first ever countdown to Christmas, which is the whole Hallmark Christmas thing. So yay for that. It includes movies like The National Tree, Mrs. Claus, Christmas in Canaan, and The Three Wishes. And from here, fate is sealed, and we're getting just an absolute treasure trove of Christmas movies every year, thanks to the popularity of the Countdown to Christmas program.
This is, I hate to be a hater, but it just got worse with time with those titles, because I still stand by The Flight of the Reindeer.
It was good.
That was a good one.
To quote Mary Whitfield Roloff's article in Forbes titled "'Tis the Season," a Hallmark Christmas movie outrated everything on cable network last week, or on cable news last week.
When was this published?
This was in like 2009.
Okay.
Or later. Actually, I don't remember, because I deleted all my information.
Yes.
Anyway,
how dare I ask?
But Mary said, Hallmark Christmas movies have been a staple of the holiday season for more than a decade, and the total number of new original films has risen each year since 2009, when Hallmark put out 9 movies. Since 2011, from late October to January, Hallmark has broadcast Christmas movies nearly 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I actually think this might have been a more recent article. I'm trying to remember back. All of this to say, I'm going to try and get into the numbers of Christmas movies, and know that this was nearly impossible to track. In 2014, we get sort of a Hallmark Christmas movie breakthrough. So they've been doing this countdown to Christmas, but there are some new CCB films, one called Christmas Under Wraps, that is just, it is the archetypical, just when you are told a Hallmark Christmas movie, this movie has all of your components. It's got a big city lady with big city dreams who throws those dreams out the window after falling in love in a small Christmas town. And so like the template of a girl comes to Christmas place where magic and love happen, and she falls in love and stays there. It comes from this Christmas Under Wraps movie, kind of.
Got it.
It should be known that CCB has starred in over 24 Hallmark Christmas movies so far, and is, for better or for worse, an indisputable queen of these films. Anyway, so this even more blows up the popularity of Hallmark Christmas movies. Well, Crown Media could get into music if they wanted to. See if I care. In 2015, Crown Media starts its own production company now to make movies. So according to the New Yorker, Christmas movies for Hallmark are generally shot in 15 days in affordable and often Canadian locations. They use existing locations instead of sound stages because it's cheaper. To quote a quote about the structure of these films, which came from a Vox article that I read. They said, Hallmark specializes in movies about single women who find love at Christmas, or families who reunite at Christmas, or families of single women who reunite and find love at Christmas. The characters in these movies tend to be white, and a lot of movies conclude with a career woman giving up her life's work for love. If you're of a progressive political bent, it's easy to feel vaguely discomforted by all of it. Which is true. It kind of is the vibe.
Okay, can I give a hot take? Because
always,
as somebody who is a single woman, and I'll even go as far as to tell you that I am a single white woman.
You're what?
With big city ambitions.
I was gonna say the problem is your big city dreams.
Yeah, but I grew up in a Christmas themed town.
True.
True. It's not Christmas theme all year round, but it's that like cute, very endearing small town. And people will often be like, this is like a Hallmark movie. And it is.
True.
I have not had success yet. So, You know what? I'm just saying that like, I feel led on.
What I'm hearing is that you need to have even bigger city dreams then forego and throw away completely by instead living in a small town.
I absolutely do. Sorry. You're absolutely right. I'll report back. Yeah.
I have 3 more bullet points, and then I'm going to done doing all this talking. So I cannot keep track of every Hallmark Christmas movie because there are over 300 of them, and a handful, like a very small handful of Hanukkah movies. Hallmark Media has 3 cable networks today, which include Hallmark Channel, Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, and Hallmark Drama. And they also have a streaming service because, of course, they do. So if you want to watch all these goddamn Christmas movies, go to the streaming network. It'll be much easier for you to find them. There will be we're midway through December, and this was sort of at the beginning of December when I did this research, but for the year of 2024, 3. There will be 30 new Hallmark movies over the holiday
Oh
season,
my gosh.
including. Oh, I think it's more than that because my numbers don't make sense. I think it is 40 new Hallmark Christmas movies, including, 31 that will premiere on Countdown to Christmas and an additional 9 that will come out on Hallmark's Movies and Mysteries Miracles of Christmas lineup. So sorry, 40 total. 30 would be not nearly enough.
Not nearly enough.
I don't think.
And
So
how do you get that mystery audience? You know what I mean? Like you got to rope them in.
So I assume that's a Hallmark Christmas movie released per day.
Yeah.
And then also 9 on a different other Hallmark channel.
Oh my gosh, that sounds exhausting.
My brain needed to sleep after I did this research, and it couldn't because it was daytime. It's a lot.
Well, thank you so much. I want everybody to know I started this just asking her, hey, can you find out if like there's essentially like a goodwill policy or like a behavior policy or something like that for
Probably, but I couldn't find anything about that.
You know what? Who even needs it? So back because like that was so off track from our story.
It was a lot.
It was so off track because we have nothing to do with Hallmark.
Yeah, this is completely different vibe from that. We're in Vermont instead of Canada. So
we're in Vermont and we're working with the Hope Network, which is so different. So
and doesn't sound vaguely previously religious either.
No.
Fair.
So we are back into this scene, which is them in the costume shop, him making the realization, her being nervous as hell. And there's already miscommunication starting between Nolan and B because she thinks he's being awkward because she's fat and that he's awkward because he's actually awkward because he almost called her Bianca and not B. And so like, it's this whole very awkward scene. So as you can probably guess, absolute tomfoolery ensues.
Mm-hmm.
There are hella sexual innuendos and jokes. There are vibrators going off in suitcases.
Oh.
There are, there's so many things happening because half of the staff on this movie set is from Uncle Ray Ray's, right?
Just a montage of floundering porn film. I like that because it indicates that things are A, 1,000 times goofier when you're filming porn, and B, that you wouldn't have to at some base level have the exact same skills to create a regular movie than you would have.
Yeah, I mean you need lighting.
Camera operations,
Best
Boys, which is an actual thing and not something I'm making up right now.
Yeah,
it's a role.
Yeah, so there are also so many subplots happening that I didn't even get to all of them in my review because like there are characters I can't even mention because they have a whole subplot, and I think it's also setting up because like there is a second book in the series and stuff like that. But you do kind of fall in love with the side characters because they're so funny and like they all did porn together and like they're all friends and whatever. Anyway, so there's a lovely character named Luca who is a designer and he's also a sex worker. He also has a love for ice skating. So of course that means he has a personal vendetta against Nolan for ruining that American ice skater's life when he like left the hotel with her that one night.
That is very Johnny Weir.
Yeah, and then there's another character, Angel, who's actually Uncle Ray Ray's son, who like is just like filling in while he's in art school and stuff. Like it's just like this. There is no serious tones as of yet. Okay,
just holding a boom mic like I am an intern.
Yeah, really get those flesh sounds. Yeah. So B and Nolan get their first scene together. What do you think the scene is?
Well, it can't be sexual because this is the Hope channel. Is he going to be dressed up like Santa and does she have to sit on his lap?
No, but I will remind you that the movie is Duke of the Halls.
Duke of the Halls, yeah.
So true. it's a Duke situation, and there is like some time travel element. I did not even get into the plot of the movie because like it's not even worth it. There's a subplot about one of the writers not finishing the last scene because she like can't finish it. Like she just can't come up with an ending to the entire movie.
Awesome.
Anyway, so it is in fact the last passionate kiss of the movie.
Oh, of course.
Right? Because you filmed the last first.
Yeah, it also just in general makes sense that you take two people and instead of waiting for them to develop a natural chemistry by working together and then having them kiss, just
Mhm.
right when they absolutely don't know each other and couldn't be more awkward around each other and have not gotten comfortable with each other, just make them make out.
But do they know each other because he is a
Well,
honeypot subscriber?
yeah, they have a parasocial relationship,
Yes.
but they've never made out before.
Well, okay, to set the scene, we're in Nolan's point of view because this is a dual point of view book where we flip between. But Nolan is looking at B and is like, I'm so fucking nervous. And B is wearing a corset that makes her boobs look just immaculate.
Nice.
And essentially the whole scene is him being horny as hell. And the poor boy is trying to remind himself he needs this to go well because he needs to have a better reputation. And this next, so he's like giving himself like a mantra, right? To like cool the jets, right? And so this wonderful quote, what could not have been written better by, historical literary icons, and it goes, quote, the Duke of no boners, the softed Duke, whoever softed, that was me. End quote.
Oh no.
This poor boy.
Oh man.
So the kiss is an attempted stage kiss, but then she starts giving a little tongue and then he can't help himself. Let's
Gotta
just say
add
there
some
was
tongue.
more. Yeah, there was more than the director bargained for. And she was like, okay, I need you to kind of dial it back.
I mean, why don't you? If one person starts using tongue, it's just so awkward if you don't both use.
Yeah.
tongue.
Yeah.
One way
So-
tongue's no good.
But we can't happen to have that. No tongue showing in the Hope Network. So there is an entire subplot which is like, oh, they've got to film this in time. Are they going to make it home for Christmas? Will Nolan make it home for Christmas? Will B make it home for Christmas? And like, then there's this other subplot that will come back into play, and it's about this drama that's happening that these two male porn stars who were married are now getting divorced, and it's like the biggest drama. And B was supposed to film with one of the men. His name was Jack, and like he was relying on this because he was like, I need, like, no one in this industry wants to fuck me right now because my ex-husband is blue balling me essentially. And I need to keep my business going. So I need you to fuck me. And she's like, sorry, have to cancel last minute because I got this role. And he's like, I'm so pissed off. And he keeps leaving her voicemails and texts that are like, what the heck are you doing? And she's like, I mean, he is kind of a bitch. So what?
Complicated.
Complicated. And like most rom-coms, especially holiday rom-coms, there's just fun antics and like one-line zingers. Like, I mean, and they're like going and doing fun little flirty things and they're getting to know each other. But our girl needs to make a buck, right? So she still needs to make content for closed door while she's there, which means Nolan is still receiving the notifications every time she posts risque content.
Just in her hotel room.
Yes.
Just nearby.
Yeah.
That's great.
And in her most recent photo of her in her hotel room, there's a shadow in the background against the window, and it makes it kind of appear like she spent the night with somebody. And so then he's like, who did she spend the night with last night? This all gets resolved at the very end of the book. He was like, I used to be jealous because you had somebody in your hotel room. And she's like, LOL, that was actually just Angel helping me take a photo because I forgot my tripod. Like, sorry.
Be chill, dude.
So then they're practicing lines. They're like enjoying the holiday themed magic of acting. And so lots of cute scenes. Poor Nolan is just so horny. He locked the gingerbread scented lotion provided by the innkeeper in his hotel safe because he doesn't trust himself to masturbate anymore. He's like,
I'm not just the scenting of it might not be good for your private business.
That's what I thought too, but quite literally the issue is out of his hands. He cannot do it anymore. And so really I got nothing for that pun. Thank you.
So I'm sorry. It's all so much to take in.
It is.
I'm so concerned about his ginger spicy peen.
Well, she gets stuck in a costume without somebody to help her with her corset. So of course Nolan like goes to find her because everybody's waiting for her, and he gets she's like, well, could you help me? And he was like, well, I've done enough. Shakespeare in the Park to know how to work my way around a corset, I can of course help you. And so she comes out in this little corset number with her boobs all pushed up and some little kind of like boxery undies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like time appropriate.
Sure,
and he's
sure.
like, I am literally going to perish right here. So he like gets her all sewed up into that corset, and then she realizes, oh shit, I didn't put on my stockings, which is like nearly impossible when you have your corset in.
Right.
And so could you happen to help me with my stockings? And he was like, yeah, go sit on the table and I'll
Can you
help
also
you.
put my garter on up my leg
Yes.
while you're at it?
And so he is so slowly pushing the stockings up her legs.
Oh my goodness.
And then he's like, you know what? I cannot help myself. And he leans in and kisses the inside of her knee.
Oh, what a weird thing to do without any previous romantic relations.
And you can imagine that this just bursts like a dam. Like the sexual tension.
Yeah.
They are kissing. They are dry humping. She gets off on the dry humping. Nice. And then there's pants that are dropped, underwear pulled aside. It is madness in this costume shop in this poor little Christmas Vermont town. And all of a sudden, it all comes to a halt because he is in the lust-filled mist of it all and says the word, Bianca.
You can't say that's secret.
Oh, so before they can even talk about what just happened, somebody walks in looking for him. And of course, they try and make it look all casual. So later...
We're not dry humping in this room.
Which I think both of them finished. So I'm also like, is that not messy as hell?
I'm always this sweaty and damp.
Yeah. So later she goes to his room and is like, how do you know about Bianca? And he was like, I may be a honeypot subscriber.
So good.
I may be a loyal subscriber of 3 years. And yes, you are everything I've dreamed of and more.
That's a kind of a lot to say.
So she's like, no one can know about Bianca. We can never have sex again. He's like, yep, you know what? It's fine. I'll suppress it. I already locked away the lotion. It's fine. So they were like, we both need this to work. So none of that nonsense. You can imagine it goes completely PG for the rest of the book in the end.
Yeah, right? There's nothing. We are only dry humping and kissing in her thighs, and there's nothing else hot that gets to happen.
So there's more cute scenes of them being friendly, and like they had to film on a horse at one point, and he finds out she's afraid of horses.
Oh no.
And then the scenes keep getting interrupted because Nolan keeps getting phone calls and everybody's like, oh, that's such a jerk, like asshole celebrity behavior, right? And he's like actually taking emergency phone calls from his sister about his mom's health, right?
Oh no.
So like he's not being an asshole, but he just like is trying to hide everything. So one night they go to a holiday themed what? Fill in the blank for me, please.
Holiday themed.
You're in a small Christmas town with a bunch of porn stars.
Tavern?
A tavern?
It's a small town. I was going to say like bar or party. But
they went to a holiday themed strip club.
Oh, sure. I mean, I was in the ballpark and you forgot the stripping.
You forgot that this is about absolute wonderful porn stars.
I did.
B pays for a lap dance from a dancer named Prancer.
That's all I have to say about that.
And she's like, what more fun is it to get, a couple of lap dances from an amazing sex worker, because from one girl to the next, let's do this. And so I should also mention, I didn't know where to put this in the story, but just for your knowledge, Nolan is bisexual too. And this is like a known fact. Cool. This is a public known fact. And like B is clearly like, I don't know if she would be romantically bisexual, but she's clearly bisexual or like pansexual in the sense of like sexual engagements, right?
Sure.
So Prancer, I said this is a nice, lovely holiday gift for your coworker, but I mean,
I think so. It's what I would give, obviously.
Yeah, and Prancer's a lovely woman. And she's like, you know what, Nolan, you look so familiar. Well, she doesn't say his name. She's like, you look so familiar. And she's like, are you like the Nolan, like Shaw that I think you are? And he's like, yeah. And she was like, can I get a photo? And B was like, yeah, but you have to keep it under lock and key because we're here for this movie and like for the Hope Channel. So like, don't do anything with that. And she's like, oh, no problem. Like, I promise. Okay.
I'm very trustworthy. Wink.
Wink, wink. So then, well, it's Prancer, you know, like
Prancer,
iconic bully.
Yeah. No history of being a dick ever.
We all know Prancers in our lives. So later that night, they go home or we'll go back to the inn and they go to their separate rooms and she posts a picture to Closed Door that she had taken where she's longingly looking off camera to where Nolan was, but not like he's not in the frame. Like it's just like somebody she's looking at. And she posts it with a caption, when you want them, but can't have them.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, a little thirsty.
It's like, it's a status you would put on Facebook.
Yeah. So he comes barging into her room and is like, immediately after her post this. And he's like, are you trying to kill me? And they make the wonderful bulletproof plan of let's fuck it out of our systems and it'll be over.
Yeah, this nothing bad can happen.
I should also note that our main man, Nolan, not only has a ton of tattoos across his chest and torso because he was supposed to be the bad boy of the group, but specifically has Christmas lights tattooed on him from when he first missed Christmas at home while he was touring with the band. What holiday themed tattoo would you get?
I mean, that's very easy, and I almost already have one. So St. Patrick's Day.
No, I mean like holiday, like
Christmas like actually holiday. Christmas.
Yeah.
I thought you meant any holiday under the sun.
No. Because I've already thought about it, and then I thought about it, and then I went to bed last night, and then I had a dream that I got this tattoo. So I feel like it's a sign, but I think I should get like little bells with a little. I think that'd be fun. Yeah, you know, like cute. Old traditional bells.
Yeah, the classic thing, I do like Christmas lights. I think they're cute. I think that'd be a cute way to do it. If I wanted it to be a Christmas tattoo that is like meaningful as it pertains to my family Christmas traditions, it would just be look, I'm going to say it, and it's going to be a long story I'm not going to get into, but it would be a beef tips box.
You know what? That tracks. Knowing your family, that absolutely tracks.
All you need to know is every year I get a present in the same beef tips box. That's just me, and I love it. It's my favorite part of Christmas.
That's so sweet.
Sometimes I just unwrap it, and I'm like, yes! And then I don't open it, but there's something in there, and I don't care. I'm just so happy to have unwrapped the beef tips box. I almost lost the box. It was a drama. It's a whole thing.
Well, I'm going to go back to our story now.
Please.
So this book has been extremely sex positive and pretty real about, you know, the honesty of sex work when it's done safely, right? And done in protection of, you know, the film stars. And so I did get nervous that Nolan's character would only see her as like a sexual persona that she is on Closed Door. But during this scene, even like, they're going at it like rabbits right now. And he's like seeing how she's different with him privately than she is when she's performing online. So he's like starting to like separate the two.
Right? Crazy. What a concept.
Yeah. But she's like laughing and being more playful instead of like sultry and sexy and like trying to like sell something. And so, and then earlier, he actually gave Shaw is like a stage performer name because it's easier. And I do not know how to pronounce his name in the book, but like they pretty much changed his name to Nolan Shaw because Shaw was easier to pronounce. And so he gave her his real name, not his stage name. So they're both kind of separating each other from the people that they had those pseudo relationships with.
Yeah.
But they end up literally falling off the bed with an orgasm. And he
as you do,
and he doesn't stop there, but he just keeps on going servicing her, and they go at it all night and into the next morning because that's going to get it out of their system and they're never going to have to touch again. Right?
Yep, that's how it works.
So again, there's more fun stuff. the next night, like they go to karaoke. Of course, Nolan sings. B drinks too much. They get back to the hotel and she's like, just spend the night with me,
Who could have seen it
Who
coming?
could have? They didn't have sex, but the next morning she's getting a banging on her door. Not actually.
Oh, I thought that's so disappointing. I was like, she's getting a banging. She did just break a rule, so the shoe had to drop sometime.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you brought up the fact that she broke a rule, because guess who's banging on her door?
Uncle Ray Ray.
Uncle Ray Ray. He obviously can't foreshadow that he knows that, but he's there to kind of chew her out, because he's like, I need you to stay on track and like don't be doing anything, And meanwhile, like Nolan's like hiding. I don't know if he was like under the bed or like in the bathroom
in
or
a
something.
closet.
Yeah. So then they have another scene with the horses again, and he promised her, I won't let anything happen to you.
Aww.
Yeah. So guess what?
She falls off a horse immediately.
She kind of. Something does happen. And so after shooting like this perfect scene with her on the horse, he was like, great job. And then his phone starts buzzing out of control. And so he steps away, and the horse bucks and she falls off the horse.
Oh man, it's gonna be because of his mom, right?
Yes.
Dang it.
The reason Nolan rushed away was because his mom fainted in a Michael's parking lot, which I can tell you is so relatable.
Damn.
But
I hope she had at least finished her shopping first.
Yeah, well, she busted her head open and got some stitches, so it doesn't matter. So he's freaking out about that. He doesn't even know that B got bucked off the horse and is like in the hospital. So like when he finds out, he like rushes to the hospital, try to be with her, but like her friends are keeping him from seeing her because they blame him, of course. And so he DMs her.
I assumed he was going to demand something, but this is funny.
He demands her on closed door to try and like apologize. And Nolan feels like things are falling apart, like with his mom and like his, reputation on set and like with.
Do they not have each other's phone numbers, or is he like, she's ignoring my text, so I have to message her?
I think there's something. I can't remember. There was a reason.
Open door or whatever it's called.
So finally, like B comes to talk to him after she's like breasted and whatnot. And he explains the reason I stepped away was because my mom got hurt and she's been struggling with bipolar disorder since my dad died. And like things were kind of got out of hand once when I left town for a while. And like, I just get nervous about being away. And so this moment of vulnerability can only lead to one thing.
Fucking in a hospital.
They are no longer in the hospital, but you are correct because they did have sex. You cannot get it out of your system if it is like there to stay. You just
if it unless it's specifically very bad, you'll probably keep doing this.
Yes. So after a very sex-filled night, the next morning he confesses he wants to see her after the movie wraps. And she clearly points out that he's in Kansas City. By the way, he's in Kansas City. Everything links back to Kansas City. Where all the stars are. And she's in LA. And he's like, yeah, but we'll make it work. And we'll have to keep it low key because of like my rebranding stuff. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, we can keep it a secret. It's fine. Can you imagine this obviously backfiring?
No concerns.
No concerns at all. So they agree they're like, you know what, but we need to focus on this film. So they're like, we are going to not have sex for the rest of the film. Okay.
Good.
I'm also going to give you another side plot. There is two other members of the band. Okay. And Ink, I-N-K.
Oh, is it their names?
Like it's their initials. Yes.
Okay. It's Ink wannabe.
I cannot for the life of me or you.
Of either of us. Honestly.
I'm willing to sacrifice you. I cannot remember who I is. And he has a brief scene at the end.
Ian or Ivan?
I don't know.
Those are the only two I names I could think of right now.
Ian, maybe. I'm maybe wrong. But what I will tell you is that like he clearly is going to get his own book or whatnot, but he lost a woman named Brooklyn, and I'm sure you can put together that it was somebody very close to him. Yeah. And so his story is going to come down the line. But more pressing is Callum, spelled with a K. Callum is currently in Kansas City as well, because they all grew up together in Kansas City. That's the boy band way, of
The
course.
boy band's way.
And he is a small business owner who owns a pizza place, and helps out with Nolan's family. And he's just like a great all around guy. And whoops, his sex tape leaks.
Ah, man.
So you can imagine this does not help with Nolan's current reputation concept.
No, not really.
But to Callum's defense, he is the dad bod icon of the porn world right now. So all the porn people on set are like, this is like iconic and I'm in love.
Well,
there's also a guy named Dominic Diamond.
Horny.
Yeah, that the funny thing is he is not in the porn industry.
That's just his name.
He is the Perez Hilton of this book.
Oh, I see.
So he's like all up in Nolan's business, and he's trying to find another scandal because some of the people trying to get information out about his family and of course this sex tape scandal, they decide, you know what, let's go and give Dominic another story to focus on so that he doesn't focus too hard on like my family and stuff. I want to stay away. So let's do a sit down interview about the Duluth Olympics.
Tell me everything.
It's not as juicy as you think. He explains that he did give his phone number to the ice skater, the American ice skater, at the beginning of the ceremony or the events. And he had kind of hoped that they would hook up, but like didn't really think much of it. And then she ended up getting really sick with food poisoning. But of course, there were rumors that she was like on drugs and all these other things, but it really was food poisoning. And she was so bad that she couldn't even move. Meanwhile, she's with these two Dutch guys who can't even, she's clearly having sexual relations with these Dutch guys, but they don't know how to help her because they like barely speak any English. So she called Nolan to come and help her.
Sure.
So that's why he was seen taking her from the hotel room down to the clinic and stuff. And so in the end of the interview, he's like, it's really not that juicy. Like I was there to help her. And honestly, it doesn't matter what happened in that hotel room. Like that's between consenting adults. Like shut the fuck up.
All true.
So then Dominic asks about Nolan's relationship with his new co-star B. Hobbs. And of course, in this televised interview, televised being, I don't know if it's television or like internet, but Nolan shuts this down and says he's not in the place to even be thinking romantically. Can you imagine that this would come to bite him in the ass?
Yeah, he just, instead of being like, B's great to work with and we're having a great time on set, he is like swings so hard in the opposite direction that he offends her and or she thinks it's real.
He definitely says like she's a wonderful new addition to the cast, but like there's nothing romantic there, you know, like I am focusing on myself. And then he also talks about his mom on this interview, like a little bit, kind of gives him, because he wants to control the narrative. And then the director hears this and moves around some things in the filming so he can get home in time for Christmas. Do you think that will come and bite him in the ass?
Sarah, no, it's all going so well, Sarah.
It's going so well. So the next time B and Nolan see each other, she's got like, they've kind of like missed each other in passing and the craziness of the set and blah, blah, blah. She's got a wedding dress on for one of the scenes and he's waiting in a church and she walks in and obviously he sees his future, right?
Yeah.
He's like, this is beautiful. And like, they don't even speak. They just immediately are at it like rabbits in the church, kneeling in front of the altar. I mean,
well,
it is intense, which I'm going to remind you at this point that one of our authors did write a smut book called Priest. And yes, if you are interested in this, if you are interested in this concept, you are welcome to read that book because it will have more detail. But to be this sex feels like they're saying goodbye. And to Nolan, he still has it in his head that they're going to be able to exist outside of the movie set.
Nolan, everyone knows that church sex is goodbye sex. Everyone knows that.
So he's like, I'm going to say goodbye to you tomorrow. The next day they have their final scenes and it's a wrap on him. She's got a few more things to do. And so he says, I'll call you. I'll promise. Like, I will call you. I promise that. Absolutely. And she's like, okay? And I promise to answer as long as you promise to answer if I call. Like, this isn't the end of us, right? So he heads for the airport. Meanwhile, there are so many subplots. B's moms surprise her by visiting her on set, like, and come and spend Christmas with her in Vermont and blah blah blah. And like
Nice.
they end up like changing the end of the movie. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of other things that like really don't fucking matter. But B's true identity leaks.
No.
Of course, because she is the saint she is. Her first concern is about Nolan and his career.
Sure.
Unfortunately, he's not answering his phone.
He said he would.
Yeah, there was some mix up because she was like, his plane's landed. Like, what's going on? And there was some mix up that he didn't like. It was kind of still asleep on the plane, and like the plane took a while to get to the gate and whatever. I don't know. But he then realizes like what's happened when he turns on his phone and is like trying to call her, but she doesn't answer because she may or may not had some edibles. So
look, happens to the best of us, man.
It sure does.
I always answer the phone.
Then his manager is like needing a Xanax, and she's like, we're denying. Like, you did not have sexual relations with that woman. You don't know that she's a porn star. You don't even know porn exists. You didn't even know that it was a 4-letter word. So he's like a little sick over this, and sorry, what am I saying? I like all of a sudden got stumped. His manager says, we're going to type up a statement and send it out. And he's like, I don't want to do this. But at the same time, he's at home with his family now. And there are all these bills piling up. And he's like, I need that paycheck. So he's like, we'll just release the statement, but like, I'll clear it up with B.
This will be very easy to resolve.
I am a white man with no problems. So this statement goes out. B sees it and is obviously upset. And it's not necessarily saying like she's the worst person in the world or anything, but like it's definitely saying like, I didn't know anything about her past. I don't know her like that. Like, yada yada. Who even is she? No,
I've never seen this woman before in my life, and I'm not her top subscriber.
No, couldn't be me. So when they get on the phone, Nolan is like, this is all for show. You and I are fine. And B's like, we are not fine. You literally just condemned me in front of everybody. Right. And like he
bro. Sorry.
He does acknowledge, like, obviously he's upset that she's getting more flack for being a female porn star because like women can't have sex, being plus size, you know, like there are all these things that are already attributing to her getting even more flack. And then he's like, yeah, this is a PR game. Like just waiting for all this stuff to calm down and then we'll have our privacy. And she says, quote, Nolan, I'm already the dirty little secret of millions of people, end quote. Just right to the chest.
Damn, go off.
And during this argument, he drops the 3 little words. I love you.
Wow.
And I think she sees this as like, you're
love
just yes, but like you are clawing at keeping me. And she says, quote, I don't need you to love me in private. I need you to love me in public for the whole world to see. And that's not something you're prepared to do. So at this time, would you like to guess what time it is?
It's time to step it up. I think it's time to step it up.
I think it's time for a grand gesture is what I think it is. So there's a lot of other things that are happening. He has a conversation with his mom. He goes and sees his other bandmate who's like been isolating himself since the death of his Brooklyn. And he then does another sit down. He like does a bunch of podcasts and sit down interviews. And he does a sit down interview with Dominic Diamond.
Wow.
And he says, you know what? I want the world to know that I support sex workers. I support B. And you, Dominic, are a part of the problem. Yeah, like lays into Dominic.
This isn't my fault.
And then he turns to the camera and says, quote, I love you, B. Hobbs. I love you in front of the whole world.
Aww.
Do not be tracing where we are in the document. I see your little cursor. Get the fuck out of here. You're not be able to don't ever. Okay, for those who don't know, Hope and I have one document we work off of, and I work under the honor code of she stays on her side, I stay on
I'm
my side,
sorry.
so we don't ruin things. And she's highlighting the quote that I just read out.
I normally keep it all above board. I don't know what's wrong with me today.
Get out of here.
I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
So there's a knock at the front door of her house right after she watches this. And of course it's Nolan. And they obviously profess their love to each other.
Got to.
So for anybody wondering, because we are now at the end, she continued her closed door account after they committed to each other. And she was like, are you comfortable with me still doing this? Because I really want to still do this. And he was like, of course I am. He was like, you know, there was a part of me that like didn't really love it at one point. But then I thought to myself, like, you know, I trust you. I love you. Yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then Teddy, Uncle Ray Ray, as we know him.
Ray Ray, as I will exclusively call him,
was signed to produce Hope After Dark movies. And B and
softcore porn?
Essentially. B and Nolan got a sequel movie too for Duke the Hall's, I don't know.
Now with Bows and Holly.
Yeah. And there's like all these other little subplots. By the way, the entire time Uncle Ray Ray, well, I don't want to say the entire time, but towards the end, Uncle Ray Ray and Nolan's agent, manager, were sleeping together, which is hilarious.
Good
so
for them.
There's so many little things like that that are hilarious and just like are so fun. But do you want to guess? I'm sure you're already fucking looking at it.
What?
Oh, the last bullet point. Do not look. Don't.
I'm not looking at it.
Do you want to guess how the info got leaked about B's profession?
Is it? Well, that one guy's trying to hide from his porn scandal, right?
Yeah.
So did he leak it?
So she accuses him of leaking it, but it turns out that Prancer from the strip club,
son of a bitch,
sent the picture to
I forgot about Prancer. I forgot.
And Dominic called Jack and was like, "Hey, can you confirm B's, you know, a porn star?" And he was like, "B, I wouldn't have betrayed you like that, but he was already on your scent. Like, I didn't say anything. It was because of that photo at the strip club." So all happy all around. We are at the end of our book. Do you have any questions?
Nope. That pretty much wraps it up in a bow for me.
Yeah. So we're going to start our scoring with diversity, which I'm going to give a 4.5.
Great sexual diversity.
A lot
of
unicorns. The if I remember correctly, the writer of the movie and the director of the movie are both women. They were in a relationship. There was lots of sexual fluidity, and I believe there was multiple people of color.
Nice.
And so I just felt like it, but I mean, we still had two white female and male cisgender leads. So sure. I am going to dock half a point for that. So what are you giving it?
4.
Okay. What would you like to give the plot? Because it was jam-packed.
I enjoyed, I would give it a full 5. I had a great time.
I'm giving it a 5 too.
Thank you so much, Julie and Sierra, for this excellent plot.
And what are you going to give the Smut? I didn't give a lot of detail. It wasn't like they were having crazy stuff happen in their sexual scenes because it was all kind of rabid. But they definitely like talk about sex toys and stuff, and like there's a lot of sexual tension. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, Sarah's offended.
And then there's the cover there on our little dog. Would you like to? I have to say this is one of my favorite covers.
It's cute. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. Let me describe it to you. Okay, so color schemes like pinks, reds, whites, kind of like minty greens. There's like a big snowy mountain and some red Christmas trees that are all decorated with little ornaments and a snowy slope where we see 2 very, very little tiny, our main characters, B and Nolan. They're super cute. They're in winter garb, although B is wearing like a pencil skirt and some red knee-high boots. It's a whole vibe. It says a merry little meet cute in like this fun little kind of a minty green font, and you can see up on the snowy mountain there's like a little light like you'd have on a set, and it says a novel on a clipboard up at the top, and then the bottom in their little snowbank they're standing on, it says #1 New York Times best-selling author of Dumpling, Julie Murphy, and Sierra Simone, USA Today best-selling author.
Yeah,
And that's
it's
it.
a lot of praise. It's a lot of praise on a
It's
book.
a lot.
What are you going to give? What are you going to give our cover?
5. It's so cute. It's a
I
merry little meet cute.
also went with a 5. So that ends with me at a 92.5 and you at an 87.5. That's really good for us.
It's really good. I'm proud of the book and I'm proud of us.
So my final question is, what's your say smut moment?
Well, the thing that was made me go, oh, the most was having sex in a church.
Well, yeah. That's for sure up there. Mine is definitely this church scene in her little wedding dress, but also, first, my more logical one is just like, I know you didn't read it, but there were so many funny sexual innuendos constantly.
Nice.
It was so hilarious. But on top of that, was it gingerbread, scented lotion?
Oh yes, for masturbating.
Yes, that
seems unsafe.
The fact that he put it in his hotel safe to like try and stop was hilarious to me.
I liked the name Uncle Ray Ray's.
Uncle Ray Ray, and he was really like an uncle figure.
An uncle to us all.
An uncle to us all. Well, that is the end of our podcast. If you so choose, you can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and maybe X if we even still want to be on there because we haven't. I've given up. At Say Smut Podcast. Additionally, we'd love to hear your book recommendations. So send those our way via email at saysmutpodcast@gmail.com. Also, we'd love it if you'd pop us a rating and review, but only if you're honest about it. Don't do it just to be mean. But obviously, if you hate everything we do for reasonable cause, we will accept that as well.
That's also true.
So that is it. We have one more week. Next week is going to be our final holiday episode. And then we also are going to be doing a recap of our favorite Say Smut moments from this year. So we will see you next time.
Ta-ta.
Stay smutty.